This is the Pop Tournaments podcast. In Pop Tournaments, we take a category of pop culture and let you, the fans, vote on matchups in a single elimination tournament format to determine an ultimate champion. We are here to discuss those results and the upcoming matchups. Thanks to our great community and everybody who votes, let's start the show. Hello, and welcome back to the Pop Tournaments podcast. It is April 18th, 2021. It is actually Conan O'Brien's birthday today.
Oh.
Little pop culture reference there. It's our 44th episode. I'm guessing Conan's probably twice that, 88. He's looking a nice pasty 88 right now. So.
The piano special.
Yep.
Big fan of the podcast, Conan O'Brien. So
Yes, he is, absolutely.
It's
Happy
mutual.
birthday.
Back at you, Coney.
He's been keeping up with our friends at VH1.
Yep.
Like I said, it is episode 44. I am Jake Wicker, and with us is Ryan Barrett,
What's happening, everybody?
Jennifer Schmidt.
Hi, friends.
So happy to have everybody back with us once again. We are just hanging out in the vast countryside where they film so many of those great Oscar movies. Oscars. I always think of them as Grouchies because they're named after Oscar the Grouch.
Ah, gotcha.
Yep, when the storied Oscar history started in the late 70s.
Yeah.
It really did.
Big Bird was the first host.
Yeah.
Hey, I would watch that much better than any of the hosts we've had.
I agree. I think Big Bird and Kermit co-hosting would be fantastic.
If the 2011 Oscars would have been Anne Hathaway and Elmo, it would have been a lot better.
Yep.
A lot better energy.
Yep.
Oh boy, we're off to a fun start already, and we have a lot of Oscar talk to get to. But before we do that, we want to make sure everybody out there is doing well. Ryan, how you been? What's been going on?
I've been doing pretty good. I had a wild viewing day yesterday. So, for just a little peek behind the curtains, we're recording on a Sunday when we normally record on a Monday. So, we're missing out on one of our normal getting caught
days.
up on the weekend days. But I packed it all into one day yesterday, so fear not. So there's a little bit, I'm cheating a little bit because I watched a little bit of these things on the day before and the day after. But more or less, yesterday I watched Schindler's List. I watched the most recent episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I watched the brand new, just released on VOD, Nobody, the new action film starring Bob Odenkirk, and capped off my night with Terms of Endearment.
Oh,
So,
wow. Had you ever seen Terms of Endearment before?
I had, but it had been a long time. And rewatching it, it's like I didn't remember anything except for the last 20 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
all I remembered was the crying stuff.
Uh-huh.
All kind of the more, the cutesy, like, romantic and mother-daughter
Jeff
stuff.
Nicholson stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. All that stuff I kind of forgot about.
Yeah.
But it was a definitely wild swings in tone between those. But Nobody was fantastic. Highly recommend.
Awesome.
If you're looking to maybe have like a movie theater experience, I honestly was like, damn, as soon as it was over, both me and Becky were like, that was so good. And I kind of wish we would have went to see it in the theater.
Well,
because
I'll
it
say
was
if you
definitely a movie theater movie. If you're a fan of movies like John Wick, and the Raid movies and stuff like that, movies that are just like kind of nonstop action, but with actually like well done choreography and stuff like that. This is totally right up your alley.
So the opposite of Terms of Endearment.
Exactly.
If you're into that. I was just gonna say if you don't have enough Odenkirk in action Phil, you can check out his brother in Kung Pao Enter the Fist from many years ago. The
Bill.
Odenkirk brother. I don't. It's a farcical comedy, but it is. There's lots of karate and whatnot. So sorry, Odenkirks. They're all talented.
But yeah, and so everything was good, different levels of good, but I enjoyed everything we watched, and it was a nice viewing day.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Glad that you've been able to catch up on some stuff, and it was all enjoyable. Jen, what's been going on? How's the week? How was the week? Partial weekend?
Good. I've been also just watching tons of movies. So, because I try to see all of the Best Picture nominees every year before the Oscars. And so, yeah, I've got 3 left now. Total. Minari I saw last weekend. Delightful, fantastic movie. Love it. And then let's see, yesterday I started off with Trial of the Chicago 7. And then Steve and I watched Promising Young Woman.
Okay.
And then wrapped it up with Mank last night. And then earlier this afternoon I saw The Father. And then we're going to probably watch Sound of Metal tonight, but possibly Nomadland. And then I've got plans, I think Tuesday night I'm going to go see the Judas and the Black Messiah in the theater. So,
Nice.
got
That's
my
quite
plan.
a marathon.
Yep. It is.
Wow.
It's a good slate of movies, though. So
Big time. All of those. I mean, as you were rattling those off, I was like, those are all really enjoyable. I forgot to mention, too, we did watch Nomadland earlier this week, too. So
okay. Yep.
I have knocked that one off the list. I still have Minari and The Father. There might be 1 or 2 others that I want to get done before. But, yeah, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's been a lot, but yeah, they're all different enough movies, and I usually, like, other years have gone where it's like 12 hours of movies, and like when it used to be 5, I did that every year, when you just go when you see all 5 movies back to back at the theater. And then 1 year I even did the 24 hours, so this was a lot easier than that one.
Out of the ones you watched this week, what was your favorite?
Promising Young Woman, I thought was just fantastic, start from finish, like super thought-provoking, but also like moves so well, totally different from anything I'd seen before, but still like totally relate to. You're like, oh my gosh, yes, this is so getting so many things right and true. So I love, so that's my favorite. Minari is fantastic, and I loved that so much. So I'm really rooting for that one too. And then the biggest surprise was probably The Father. That was the one I was looking forward to the least. Overall, it's like every 5 years there's, the movie about someone with dementia, and they're just hard watches, right? I mean, remember that one from like 5 years ago, and it was like the French couple in their apartment? Yes, and I'm like, and it's all in subtitles, like. Yeah. So I was like.
That was pretty brutal.
Yeah, so I was thinking this would be like that one or Iris. Like, there's so many of these movies, and they're just, really well acted, but hard to watch. But this one does a lot more, like, interesting things with the story. It's not so much told by, like, from the caregiver's perspective, which is played by the fantastic Olivia Colman, but more from, like, the person with dementia, their perspective, which is played by Anthony Hopkins. And so we don't know exactly what the timeline is, like stuff's happening out of order. Sometimes like people are played by different characters a little bit, so it's really like getting you kind of in that like feeling. And it was really well done, like very stressful, sad, heartbreaking, but Like, very engaging. It clocks in at like an hour and a half, so it's moving really well. So I do recommend it if you want to watch something with amazing acting, and they do a really good job, but it's still a hard watch. But recommended.
That's good to know.
Good, yeah, that's good analysis. Jen, this is. I hope everybody's looking forward to our bonus Oscar episode later this week, because I love the way, and Jen, I know it's very important to you, so you take the time to do it, but you're watching all of these movies at once, and so it gives you a whole gained perspective to kind of see everything back to back. If I could do a stupid sports comparison, it's much like the NCAA tournament, where everybody always complains like it's hard to judge these teams against each other because you don't get the chance to watch them all at the same time throughout the season. So well done research there. We're really looking forward.
Yeah,
to that.
I've got lots of opinions, and my husband will only listen to them for so long.
So we got to make other people listen.
So thank God for a podcast.
Yeah. Well, I'm behind both of you in my current Oscar watching. Unfortunately, I'm the same way as you guys. I love the theater experience, and I absolutely love movies. But man, for some reason. And here's where it gets even weirder. Streaming a movie, I get so distracted. But if I was watching it like on a DVD, if I rented it from Redbox or something, it keeps me more engaged.
Oh, really? Oh, funny.
Yeah, like streaming, because it's always like, I can just get back to it. I'll check this email or something stupid like that.
Yeah, you can't rewind DVDs. People forget about that.
No, but never mind.
But you're like, I paid money,
and
I've got
DVDs.
this window that I need to watch it. So, yep, I
Come
hear
on,
ya.
Mr. Hollywood Video.
Yes.
Hey, I worked at the mega corporation Blockbuster, not the second tier Hollywood Video.
Yeah, but you
we
don't
put
deserve...
Hollywood Video out of business. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're giving you the second tier nickname. I'm just kidding. But I did watch some of these past Oscar movies that we're going to be talking about over the weekend. I continued my suburban lifestyle by removing buckthorn all day yesterday.
You need some goats.
Oh,
Goats are really good at getting that out.
Buckthorn sounds like a British series. I thought that's what you were gonna say.
Yeah.
Well, it's a British series and an invasive species. They are both equally annoying and undesired. I don't know. And the only other pop culture I really consumed, I messaged Ryan last night. So NBC always shows a condensed rerun of SNL at 9 p.m. On Saturday nights, and it was my absolute favorite episode ever of Steve Buscemi from 1998.
Oh my gosh!
And of course, the one sketch they cut from it was my favorite sketch of the episode. So but it was still very, very hilarious. A young Will Ferrell, young Tracy Morgan, always, and a super Tina Fey's first ever. It was her first episode as a writer, and she asked a question from the audience.
Oh my gosh!
Doesn't even look like her. I mean, again, very nice little time capsule there. But let's stop talking about my stupid weekend and let's get to our back into, I should say, our amazing tournament of the last 40 years of Best Pictures.
Yeah.
We've got some winners and we got some stinkers, but they all at one point were considered the best picture of the year. What I found interesting, looking at this, and especially lately, like, winners are really released in a condensed period during the year. The further you go back, the more it kind of bounces around. But yeah, I want to say, like, within of the last 15, the only one to not be released October through January was The Hurt Locker, being released in July.
Yeah, I think like summer releases are sometimes get a little bit more, a little bit more play, especially since they went to the up to 10 movies,
right
format.
But as winners though,
the winners,
it's really really heavy in that, and November is the biggest month of all.
Yeah.
Funny thing, no winner, at least in our tournament, ever released in March and ever released in June.
Oh, I completely believe that. March is like the worst month for movies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's the
usually.
cutoff. It's also, and you got all those other ones that they sneak in. Like, how you can't be considered a 91 movie when you're released February 27th of 92. That's just
it also, I mean, just a little. I know.
I know.
In the world of like, Variety and like those kind of movie rags, I know people call February Dumpuary.
Yeah.
Too, because it's just like, I mean, I feel like February and March, that's just like the graveyard of movies. That's the time when everybody who's like really into going, like me, and like going to see movies every week, all of a sudden you just take a break because it's like literally there's nothing to see. You just start like going, okay, I guess we're just renting movies now for like a couple months.
Well, you're watching sports. Like February and March are bigger, like watch sports from home.
Yeah.
But because some of the movies slide in, like, because they'll like premiere in festivals or do the LA, New York premieres in like December. And so the rest of us are getting to watch them in like January.
Oh, yeah, their official releases.
They were already released, but they're wide releases in January. And so we're like catching up with those. But yeah, like there's, if it's a big summer movie, they're thinking we're going to make money there. They're saving it for summer. Otherwise, it was released a little bit earlier. And it's rough because here in Minnesota, it's a great time to go see a movie in February and March because you don't want to be outside. But
well, and I think one of those things also, again, looking at when things were released and as you went farther back in history, we got to remember movies used to be in the theaters so much longer.
Yeah.
But, that's another thing we easily forget nowadays where, a 6-week run in the theater was a flop.
Yeah.
Nowadays it might just be you only get 6 weeks to see it. And so, I don't know, but it's all a game. The whole we know there's plenty of the money symbol.
Yep. That's what you're figuring it out.
But let's get to it. So today we will talk about a few play-in games and a few matchups, and then the ones that are going to have to face some of the last week's. So we talked about 4 of the play-in matchups last week, and we'll talk about the movies that those winners will end up facing towards the end of this episode. But y'all ready to get to it?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Oh, all right. So picking up after we left off last week, we've got The King's Speech from 2010. Going up against American Beauty from 1999. 4 wins for The King's Speech, 5 wins for American Beauty. We all love the cliche plastic bag scene.
Yep.
I think about it every time I see anything blowing around in the wind.
Yeah,
I was literally
it's so beautiful.
I was on the patio yesterday, like helping clear plates and stuff. And I saw like a napkin flew away, and I almost leaned down to a table and said, "That's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen," or something like that. I had to restrain myself.
I loved how like a few weeks after that movie came out, the floating plastic bag was on the cover of Vanity Fair.
Sexiest man alive.
But yeah, I do remember at least being entertained by this movie. It came
American
out when
Beauty?
I was 17. Yeah, American Beauty. It
was different. It was very different. Different than a movie we'd seen before. It was surprising. It's another one that moves really well and has a kind of cool structure. So yeah, like it just like one of those that now when we look back on it, you're like, okay, yeah, this was even more problematic than I thought.
Absolutely.
It was the preamble to Crash. It was the
It
prequel
really
to
is
Crash.
very similar to Crash in that. It's like, oh, wow, they were talking about this. That's cool. It's like, oh, no, we shouldn't be talking about it this way. Like,
when I was 18, yeah, that's right, 18,
Yep,
when this
yep.
movie came out, I went to see it with a group of friends, like on opening weekend or something, and we were all blown away. Like, we loved this movie. We thought it was so good, and it kind of wore on me as the year went on. Like, the more I thought about it, I think I saw it a second time in the theater, and then Magnolia came out too, like
Yeah.
shortly after, and that movie like changed my life.
love
And that movie,
Magnolia. Yeah.
that made me like retroactively not like American Beauty as much. But like leaving the theater, I was like, this movie's amazing. But yeah, like you said, as you grow in your brain matures and you know, you kind of look back and you know, as times change, obviously, you know, you kind of look back and you're like, wow, definitely the relationship between Kevin Spacey and his high school girlfriend is
Ish, yeah.
very fucked up.
Right, and like the movie's like, well, I mean, the message is it's bad to be, you know, thinking about girls this way and sexualizing them, while the movie very much sexualizes her, like,
Yeah.
repeatedly, and is like playing into this and really playing into the idea that, okay, well, as long as he doesn't act on it, it's fine that guys think this way because everybody does. That's okay. And it's like, let's not make him the hero of the story. Like,
Yeah.
and that, yeah. So it's just,
Well,
yeah, it's.
And there's a lot of it, like you say. I mean, I do think that comparing it to Crash is apt in the sense that they're trying to make like quote unquote important points, and they're doing it at a 10. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like
Yes.
they're really just kind of see, look at this. We're being
Yes.
so deep.
We're
And,
edgy.
like,
And,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, totally. The whole Chris Cooper character, that arc
Yeah.
is
Also, yeah,
way
dialed
over
up
the
to a
top.
10. Like, yep.
Yeah.
Annette Bening's character is like so like.
Yeah. Although all hail Annette Bening.
Oh my god, I love her.
If anybody should have won an award for this,
Yes.
it's her.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and you know, obviously now we can't talk about American Beauty without talking about Kevin Spacey and the fact that his legacy has now tainted this movie even more than it already
Yes.
was before.
And that's what's weird. He wins Best Actor for essentially, again, kind of like Matt Dillon in Crash, where at the end he has this one tiny redeeming. He, despite all the temptation, he finally didn't do the shitty thing and died at the end.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Like, that got him Best
Regular
Actor.
Jesus Christ over here.
You're the
so,
real
like-
hero. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, but does this beat King's Speech or does this lose to King's Speech?
Oh, I think King's Speech is delightful. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody loves a good Colin. I like a Colin Firth.
And Jeffrey Rush.
And Helena Bonham Carter.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Got a lot of very charming Brits.
Yes.
Jenny, do you want to speak on King's Speech?
Oh, you know, so here's the things that I think a movie should have to, like, win Best Picture and also, like, to be nominated. I think it really comes down to three things. It should have, like, above regular, like, levels of artistry, like, in the writing and the acting and the directing, the cinematography. It should be better than your regular movie. It should have, like, something important to say. And it should be something I haven't seen before. And so I think King's Speech really nails it on two of those. Like, it's great acting, it's well written, it's, you know, excellent. And yeah, and it does have an important, like, message, and it tells it in an, like, engaging way. I don't think it's a super unique movie, which I think is an argument for it not winning Best Picture, because I feel like we've seen this movie a bunch of times. And really the only thing that I thought, I was like, oh, well, I haven't seen this before, is just, like, the scene where Jeffrey Rush is getting him to feel more comfortable talking by, like, swearing. so regularly. Like, that's a delightful scene,
That's fun.
and that was new. I hadn't quite seen that, but besides that, it's a great, like, well done, like, historical film. But
I didn't really think about this until just now, but it's kind of like a sports movie in the
it really
arc
does,
of it,
yeah.
but it's I also like it's one that didn't really over time I don't really think about it ever.
Yeah.
I definitely though, like, leaving the theater, I was like, that was really fun. I liked it.
Yeah.
I remember going to the bar afterwards, the Tavern on Grand, and Pop Tart Dan N, aka Peaches, was bartending there, and he was very, very much not a fan of King's
Oh,
Speech.
really?
and he was not happy that we enjoyed it. But I thought it was really, like you said, Jenny, I thought it was pretty delightful.
It's a fun watch, and it rewatches really well. But I think about it just because I've watched The Crown, and so much of the first season of The Crown is like, after that, and so I'm like, that's like literally how I learned a lot of my history was from this movie.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
The thing I think that is unfortunately the legacy of The King's Speech now is that it's the movie that beat The Social Network.
Right.
Which is like,
Which
I
maybe
think
needs to be
thought
redone.
which I think is thought of now as being like one of the best movies of the decade.
Yeah.
And King's Speech is not going to be on that list of
No.
the best movies of the decade.
Right.
So it kind of has that sort of stink on it as like, I honestly think most people in the film critic world, kind of look at King's Speech as being like oh, this wasn't really like a great movie, and it won the Oscar over great movies, or at least a great movie,
Yeah.
We'll have to agree to disagree. I think Zuckerberg is portrayed too well in that movie. But we're not here to talk about that movie.
We're
probably
not,
shouldn't have.
unfortunately. Some year, I would like to talk about Social Network. Next year, maybe we'll do a, like, almost one, like, bracket.
Of the past decade, because
Yep.
there's a lot, like you said, ever since they went to 10, there's
There's
a lot
so many.
more movies worth talking about. So in our next, so it was fun that last matchup, both were original screenplays. In our next matchup,
okay.
it's both adapted screenplays. I love how you set that up, Ryan. But a little behind the curtain stuff here. So I've always been a big fan of Dances with Wolves. I had a few friends growing up that were really into Native American culture, and while this might, again, looking back 30 years later, this might not be the absolute best representation. It's not nearly as bad as some other
Right.
things looking back 30 years, and it did bring a lot of things to the forefront, and did a lot for South Dakota, as I think I've alluded to in the past episode. And so when I saw this tournament, I'm like, Dances with Wolves as a play-in game against ordinary people? This is crazy. Dances with Wolves easily moves along. And then I watched Ordinary People, and I absolutely love that movie. This is going to be such a difficult matchup for me, because you get a little bit of that white knightness from
A little white
Kevin
savior,
Costner.
yeah.
Little white savior, but again, Kevin Costner is not nearly as much of a asshole about these things as some other people have
Yes.
been in this medium. And again, really fun. I like the story. I know it's a little slow for some people, but I enjoy that movie. So yeah, and I love the transformation throughout it. But Ordinary People, holy cow! I'll try to be quick here, because Ryan previously, before I watched it, had told me how much he liked this movie, and just wonderful performances all around. Directed by Robert Redford.
I didn't know
Timothy
that,
Hutton.
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know he had directed it, yeah.
And see, he got the little director taste, and then he wanted to act 5 years later in Out of Africa. He got a little taste, and he needed to wet his beak again. But yeah, everybody in this movie, Mary Tyler Moore,
yes,
a very not a loved character, but so good.
Yes. Such a big departure from like what she's famous for.
Yeah. Ryan, I'll let you go first here.
Yeah, so it's it definitely, this is one of those movies that I saw when I was like 18 years old probably, and it blew my mind. I mean, it was definitely like, it's very like emo, it's the kind of movie that like I think when you're like it's sort of a coming of age movie in the through the eyes of the Timothy Hutton character,
Yeah.
And it's about mental illness and growing up in a toxic household, but I mean, all the acting is amazing. Judd Hirsch too.
Yeah.
Incredible. I was just talking to Jake briefly before the podcast, and I said it reminded me a lot of Good Will Hunting, which I loved a couple years before, and was a movie that I think really changed my life as like a 16-year-old, and it kind of, I think because of that relationship between the Timothy Hutton character and the Judd Hirsch character, it reminded me a lot of Good Will Hunting.
Now you just made me think. I just realized Robin Williams is dressing exactly like Judd Hirsch.
Yeah, big
in
time.
Good Will Hunting.
The cardigan and yeah,
the big cardigan sweater. Sorry,
the need of a haircut, like
yeah. But yeah, I mean it. I don't really have much else to say other than to say, if you haven't seen Ordinary People, go out and do it. It's definitely like. If you're thinking like it's going to be a chore to watch, don't worry about that. It's very like, I mean, it's a tough watch in some regards, but it's entertaining and it's very rewarding.
I will say the one thing, the small critique of Ordinary People, there were aspects of the story that I didn't think they did the best job. So there's just my one example. There's a scene where one of Timothy Hutton's former friends gets in his car and tries to talk to him and says, "Hey, the three of us, we were all best friends." And it hadn't been set up in any way until that point. And it's later in the movie, and it felt a little forced, but again, for being a movie made in 1980.
Yeah, it does not feel like a movie made so long ago. I feel like it feels like a really current movie.
Yeah, and I can't, but there's a lot to learn as movie making goes on. So small minor gripes, but really, really wonderful. Jen, do you feel one way or another here?
I mean, I think they're both like great movies at the time. I think probably Ordinary People has aged a little bit better, but Dances with Wolves is a huge movie, and like you said, hasn't aged as poorly as many other movies on this list. And it's like, yeah, thank God it was Kevin Costner and not like Sean Penn starring in that.
No, and I think again, I think it does a pretty decent job of being accurate to the time period and not trying too hard to massage things or massage the framing.
Yeah, I think they're both great movies and were great then and still have a lot to like about them now. I think like in this matchup, I definitely think Dances with Wolves will win because I don't think very many people have seen Ordinary People. I think it's kind of one of the forgotten ones on this list, but I hope people do check it out because it's great. And I love like when actresses like kind of have this like, an actress who's, a bit older and famous for a sitcom with Mary Tyler Moore and then coming in with a really dramatic, totally different departure of a role. And there aren't roles like that often for women in their 40s and 50s. And she gets to do it and like nails it and so good. And I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, did actually get nominated. Didn't win for Best Actress, but did actually get nominated. So glad that they recognized that. Then,
one thing real quick. Well, first of all, just one other thing about Ordinary People. Like The King's Speech, I think this is one of a handful of movies, especially on this list, that, and like Crash, I would say is another one, that its legacy is it beat one of the classics. You know, this Ordinary People beat Raging Bull.
Oh, okay. That's, yeah.
And I think that it kind of has the rep of like, can you believe in the 1980 Oscars, Ordinary People beat Raging Bull? And I was always like, I like Ordinary People better than Raging Bull.
Yeah, I do too.
right.
But that's kind of like one of the things that people, that's like a
It is, yeah.
factoid about Raging Bull. Like, what was the movie that beat Raging Bull in the Oscars? You know what I mean?
So now you all know it for when that comes up on Jeopardy.
Exactly.
All our Pop-Tart listeners.
Yeah. The other thing quick I wanted to say about Dances with Wolves, that's one of the ones I really wanted to revisit before this, and I didn't get a chance to. But I remember seeing that movie in the theater at the Cooper Theater in St. Louis Park, I believe. But it was a panoramic theater, and it was like the only one that as far as I know in the Twin Cities, but it was like it used like a special projector and everything, and it was like a curved screen, and they would only show like movies that were formatted for that.
Oh,
and
cool.
so they would
that
show
was
like
an experience,
Lawrence of Arabia and shit.
is so gorgeous.
Yeah. So, I was bored, but it was an experience. But I'm still excited to catch up with this. Like you said, when I heard, when kind of doing research that, all of the actors who portray Native people in this film were actually portrayed by like, I can't remember the correct terminology, like first generation, or whatever. It was all very authentic casting, is what I'm trying to say. They didn't do any inappropriate casting.
Yeah, and I feel bad. I should have done my research. That the main chief of the tribe he joins is a pretty prolific actor and absolutely fantastic. Really, in everything he does, just really a joy to watch, because it's strange. In that movie, he's got some funny parts too. I love you gotta break it up sometimes. Not like just like slapsticky. I don't know. But yeah, really, really great actor there. So I think this is, of our play-in games, this is probably going to be one of the most difficult right here. Then we're going to have 1983's Terms of Endearment up against 2001's A Beautiful Mind. Why can't it? Russell Crowe.
Yes.
He was so hot there for a while, back to back, appearing in movies that won Best Picture. But unfortunately, we're only talking about one of those movies. I just recently revisited this one. It's a fun, interesting storyline, but I don't know. I don't know if it wowed me. A Beautiful Mind. Again, great. It almost felt like a few years later we had Catch Me If You Can. It kind of felt like a similar movie, just in the way it was made.
Okay.
But yeah, interesting.
Jen, what do you think?
I haven't seen A Beautiful Mind since the movie theater. I remember loving it, and then thinking that it was really unique, and really seen kind of not really the twist, but kind of the surprises in it. Like that set up to the third act when he like opens the mailbox and you find out he hasn't been mailing like the letters. It's just like full, and you start to really like realize, you know, how much like mental health problems are here. The scope of it. I thought that was really effective and, like surprising. And Paul Bettany is great in that. I think this is the first movie that I really like got to know Paul Bettany. And so, yeah, like I really liked it then. And Russell Crowe, like this is the type of role I really like Russell Crowe in. I don't like him in the Gladiator roles when he's playing the strong stoic type. I think he's fairly boring. But when he's got something more to do, Russell Crowe is fantastic. So like, yeah. So yeah, I thought it was good at the time. I don't know how I'd feel about it since then, because I feel like there's been other movies that have done those same things well, but this is one of the first ones to really kind of bring that up. So I definitely thought it should have won Best Picture at the time. I was excited about it winning then.
Cool. And Ryan, I know you recently rewatched Terms of Endearment, directed by James L. Brooks. He had to make a little money so he could go and produce The Simpsons.
Yep.
So we have to thank them for that.
I actually just rewatched both of these movies within the last few weeks, and it was my first time watching A Beautiful Mind. And I'll start by talking about that quick. I was pretty lukewarm on it. I didn't really like it that much. I thought it was, I think Jenny, the way you set it up earlier, talking about like what you expect from an Oscar movie, I think that was a really great way to put it. And I think that in terms of like, they were going for a higher level of artistry and acting and whatever. I think this very much had that. And they were trying to tell the story in like a different way, in a new and unique way, which was interesting. But I don't know. I mean, I just, it didn't really resonate with me now. I don't know if some of it just came off kind of over the top, as far as his portrayal. It seemed maybe a little bit, maybe exploitative is too strong of a word. But I don't know. It seemed a little over the top. I thought Jennifer Connelly was strong. She did win Best Supporting Actress for this, which surprised me. I didn't know that when I watched it. But I thought she was kind of the linchpin as far as the acting went. You know, she was kind of the audience surrogate. And like you said, Jenny, the twist was definitely something I didn't see coming, because you're so used to having the normal conventions of the protagonist is right,
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't think it was. I mean, I'm sure there was some lingering memories of the way it was advertised. It definitely wasn't advertised as as that type of wait and find out what happens. It was, at least in all the advertisements I remember, it was presented as Without again, we won't spoil it for anybody.
So that was A Beautiful Mind. In terms of Endearment, I just saw for the second time, and rewatching it wasn't. I really didn't remember a lot of it. It kind of felt like the first time for the most part. The only part that I really remembered was the very.
I think we can probably say, like, I don't think we need to try to not spoil Terms of Endearment.
The cancer stuff.
Yeah. Deborah Winger isn't making it to the end of this movie.
Yeah. And that's it. I think this movie is very charming, and like it shocked me watching it as like somebody who is an Oscar lover now, it felt like I'm shocked that this movie won Best Picture, because it does not feel like the type of movie that is nominated for Best Picture nowadays. It's
Yeah, it's really true.
essentially it's essentially like a romantic comedy plus. It's a romantic comedy with a little more depth and some drama, but
and a really like female driven kind of
Exactly.
relationship character drama is not what gets nominated even very often, and definitely not winning.
And that's, I think, the strength of the movie is the relationship between the Shirley MacLaine character who plays the mother and the Deborah Winger character who plays the daughter, and seeing their kind of relationship evolve over time, and as they're both going through their own trials and tribulations, and Shirley MacLaine is getting involved in this crazy new relationship, and Deborah Winger her marriage is falling apart, and how their relationship is changing is kind of, I think, the strength of the movie. Really, the cancer stuff kind of feels like an afterthought. It kind of feels like, okay, how are we going to wrap this up? Oh, I know. They will eat this up.
Yes.
Let's kill the main character.
Let's make them cry.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the awards will come. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it worked.
It does, yeah.
At the time, the Academy was just, really a lot of old Hollywood, and they were like, oh, it's not a musical, and something actually emotional happens. Here's all the awards.
It was,
Take
the
all
early
the
80s
trophies.
that really had an appreciation for these emotional, like, small character movies. I wouldn't mind going back there. Yeah, like, Terms of Endearment, I love that. I saw it a lot growing up. When in the, like, dead daughter genre of movies, I like Steel Magnolias a lot more. So I think I've always compared those two.
And the Shirley MacLaine character, very similar.
Yes.
Similar moments.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Yes.
You gotta know what you're doing.
So the dead daughter Shirley MacLaine movies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true. Like I like Steel Magnolias more, but Terms of Endearment, is a great movie. And thank you for reminding me that movies like that never win and don't usually get this kind of recognition, and that alone is really special.
We got
Also, just interesting side note,
We
Jack
can't
Nicholson.
stop talking about movies. This is going to be another 2-hour episode.
Jack Nicholson also won Best Supporting Actor for this movie as well.
Yep.
Okay.
You drive a
Moving
car
on.
on the
Sorry.
beach.
Yes, great scene.
We'll do our Jack Nicholson impersonations next week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next week. Look forward to that. I love so this matchup coming up here, and it's our last play-in matchup, I think is really, really interesting. Ryan, will throw to you first, and then Jen after that. I got to just for 30 seconds. But I love this matchup for two different reasons. One, it's 95 and 96 Best Picture winners, so back-to-back. And it's Braveheart versus The English Patient.
Ah, yeah.
So really just two guys that got screwed over by the English.
Yeah.
So interesting matchup. I will rejoin the conversation in 30 seconds. Ryan, go ahead there.
It was funny. I thought he was gonna say two guys who got totally screwed over by Hollywood, Mel Gibson, and I was like, where's he going? Where's he going with this?
And Voldemort.
Yeah. One thing that was really funny that Jake said, he watched The English Patient before I did. I just watched it for the first time this last week. And he referred to it as the Voldemort prequel. And I didn't really know what he was talking about. I was like, oh, haha, whatever.
Yeah, okay.
And as soon as I saw The English Patient without the bandages, I saw the face, I was like, whoa, shit.
And that's a ways in.
Yeah, exactly.
You watch like half the movie and you're like, oh.
Yeah. I'm like, whoa, he does
Ray
kind of look
Fiennes
like
in there.
Voldemort. And I showed Becky, and she was like, oh, that's definitely where they got the idea to cast him. Like they saw The English Patient, and they're like, oh, he would make a
we
great
need to get
Voldemort.
that guy. Yeah.
But I really enjoyed The English Patient. I thought especially the first half was super entertaining, engaging. It was a lot more than I was expecting. I was kind of expecting a very serious romantic drama, and what I got was more of like a kind of like mystery suspense romantic drama. It almost had like sort of Casablanca aspirations.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
You know? And so that I thought was a big surprise. It definitely great acting throughout. Juliette Binoche won an Oscar. Queen Dame Juliette Binoche, in my opinion.
She's been in a lot of these movies. Like, she was in a lot of Oscar-nominated movies around this time.
Yeah. And she's great. Kristen Thomas Scott is great. And Ray Fiennes is amazing. Very young Colin Firth making his second appearance in the play-ins.
Oh, yeah. I'd totally forgotten that.
Yeah. But it, I thoroughly enjoyed The English Patient. It's really hard to compare to Braveheart.
Yeah.
Braveheart is such a huge movie, and there's so much to unpack there. You know, it's funny. I remember it's one of those movies that I felt like when it came out, I was like, you know, I thought it was going to be really boring. I thought I wasn't going to like it. And it was kind of surprised me, like, that was actually kind of entertaining, and I kind of liked it. And then, like, I remember watching it in school, and everybody being like, that was really good. And then, this is kind of where it resides in my brain right now. I remember a bunch of my friends went to Mankato State, Minnesota State University, and and for those of you who aren't from this area, that's like the big party school kind of this area, and that became like a huge movie for like in this group of like kind of douchey like frat boys. Like everybody be like, Braveheart, Braveheart, let's watch Braveheart again and get drunk, you know? And it's just so weird because it seemed like such a prestige Oscar movie. And then like kind of the more time went on, I'm like, it's kind of like an action movie essentially.
Yeah.
But just like...
It does a great job of finding that balance and telling a story that most people here in the U.S. didn't necessarily know about 100%. William Wallace. Like, I didn't know that history, and I love to learn my history through movies. I've learned a lot by watching all these Oscar movies. Probably a lot of incorrect things, but there you go. And so yeah, I think Braveheart is it like just does everything right, you know, for a movie. Like, it's got this interesting history, it's got the fight scenes, and they're like different than what we've seen. We've got the face painting, we've got the like rousing speeches. It's like moving, and just I don't like war movies is in general, and I've seen a lot of those. When you see all the Best Picture nominees, I've seen so many war movies, but this one is just like, I don't want to say it's a joy to watch, but it is, you know, like it's a fun, interesting, you know, movie, and it works really well.
Yeah, and the classic meme moment, they can take our lives, but they can never take our freedom.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, if a movie has a meme moment like that lasts for 25 years, that's a huge win.
Now, Ryan, I know why all those at the time Minnesota State Mankato kids were into Braveheart is because the mascot for Minnesota State Mankato is the Mavericks, another movie starring Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
Nice.
I liked that movie too. I really loved Maverick. Jeez.
a little Mel Gibson
Oh,
crush
I
over here.
absolutely had a Mel Gibson crush until, what was it, like 2008?
Till he opened his mouth?
Yeah. It was, until that, like, drunk driving thing, and then it's like, oh, crap. And then all of the information that spilled out after that. Up until then, I was absolutely a Mel Gibson fan. He's very handsome. He's super, like, intriguing as an actor. Like, talk about screen presence. Absolutely, I was. Now I'm not, obviously. But
what a turn.
And all I'll say about The English Patient is it had 9 wins.
Yeah, that
year.
I can't believe. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of where all this backlash is coming from. Is it wasn't like just won Best Picture. I feel like it just won all the Academy Awards, and I think we look at that as. Sorry, Jake. I'll let you talk.
Oh no! I was just gonna say a lot of and again, I'm not as up to date, and maybe neither of you are either. But I would trust that you guys would be more up to date. I'm not sure on my Oscar history, but I feel like this was probably around the time that they started expanding categories or increase, because it won for score, cinematography, editing, production design.
Yeah,
that feels like an added, sound mix. Again, not that saying it was undeserved. I will say also though, from '96, Fargo came out that year.
Yeah, I mean, if we look back, Fargo is definitely a movie that we hadn't seen before. And it was nominated, I think, like, across the board. And I think English Patient now is looked at as a movie that shouldn't have won as much as it did. Or it kind of represents, like, what the Academy represents, which is the dramatic British, super long romantic drama movie.
Era.
Yes. With, like, that cost a lot of money, but nobody actually wanted to go see it. Like, when I think of The English Patient, I think it's Elaine on Seinfeld, right? That, like, hated that movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is our first Seinfeld reference.
Yes.
We'll get to one more today. Right at the end. Stay tuned for that. What I was going to say one other thing quick about The English Patient. Now I can't remember.
Sorry, I interrupted you. I do that a lot when I talk about
No, it's not because
movies.
you...
Oh, and I'm fairly certain that all those categories had been going on for a while before.
They were all the same, but it's very rare that one comes in and gets, like, all of those. And if it is, it's generally those, like, huge kind of, like, standard movies that cost a lot of money and are 3 hours long. And even if they're well done, I think people are like, another one of these. Winning everything over the super interesting Fargo, which was, fresh and new.
My favorite movie.
I did love that it was my introduction to Naveen Andrews, Saeed from Lost.
Yeah.
Beautiful hair.
Lost. Yeah, beautiful hair.
Yes.
Yeah, they didn't win makeup and hairstyling. Braveheart did the previous year. Of course they won hairstyling. All right, so that's all of our play-in matchups. Let's see if we can finish it these last 4 here. We don't even.
I mean, we only spent 20 minutes talking about ordinary people.
We've got 4 left. We can.
Yeah, we got it.
No. I want to give them their respect.
Of course, these are the 1 seeds essentially.
A movie I absolutely loved when I finally got to see it. I got to see this right as we were entering, I think, our 2nd month of quarantine. Last year was when I finally got to see Parasite. Wonderful Best Picture winner. Also won for director, original screenplay, and international feature film. Such a great... I loved how you gave your description earlier, Jen, of what you look for from a movie that should be considered for Best Picture. I think this touches on all those parts, and it's got some uniqueness to it that I absolutely love, and so I hope people don't dismiss this because it is a foreign language film, and I know how much that is, or how easy it is for people to shy away from that. But what did you like about Parasite?
I was really sad that it didn't also win production design. Talking about that, so production design is like the sets, like how, like where the people are interacting, and the like their apartment and versus the house, and how those are kind of their own characters too in that movie, and then just this like, you know, the symbolism of the house, and then the the downstairs, like, yeah, it's just, yeah, it's such a cool movie, and I was so glad I got to see that in the theater. Like, this is like my last big theater experience before, you know, in the before times. But yeah, it's oh man, it's exciting. Yeah, the characters are so great. The acting is awesome. You definitely do not know where the heck this movie is going at any time. It's tragic, but it's also hilarious. Like, fantastic. I love it so much.
I'm glad you said that it was hilarious, because it was one thing when you were first describing, you know, what you look for in a picture. I was going to say, you know, do you think that there's ever a time that a comedy could win? And this is definitely not a comedy, but the fact that it has funny moments.
You know?
I would
almost.
It's. I mean, I would. It's funny talking about Fargo. I mean, I consider Fargo kind of a comedy, and
yes,
I think
dark
these are
comedy.
very comparable films. This and Fargo.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Great point. No, wonderful. Ryan, sorry, we're not trying to cut you off there. What?
No.
Anything to add about Parasite here?
I mean, I echo everything that's been said so far. It's incredible. I remember we saw it the opening week. I mean, the opening weekend in the Twin Cities. It was playing at Uptown, and we got our favorite seats in the house, which is in the balcony in the front row, right in the middle, and it was just, I was completely captivated from the first moment to the last. And we walked out of the theater, and I turned to Becky and I said, that was one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's saying a lot. That's, I don't remember ever saying that about a movie. Like, I mean, I'm sure I've said that about movies in my life, but I can't think of any time recently when I'm willing to make that bold of a statement about something the moment I walk out of the theater.
Yeah,
I get it. No, that's I'm glad you. Two things that you kind of remind me. I love that you use the word captivating, and sometimes it does get overused, but I think this movie and the other three we're going to be talking about all kind of fall under that category. Yeah. But this is also one of those movies that my wonderful, awesome, amazing girlfriend Kaylee and I absolutely agreed on from the get-go. Just like you said, we both, after watching it, said this is just such a fantastic, well done movie. And the acting was so superb in this. And again, that's something that's really tough for American audiences to understand from an international film. So it's, yeah, all around, I really hope anybody out there that's listening that has not seen this movie, see this movie. It's so
I
good.
think it's perfect.
Yeah.
And, you know,
it's damn near.
I don't think that they're, you know, I'm sure there's some people who don't, you know, their favorite movies are imperfect maybe or something like that. But I mean, this movie is just so tight.
Yes.
And it's like, there's not one shot or word of dialogue that I would change. I mean, I just think it's perfect.
Yeah. Speaking of near perfect, another one of our, play-ins will face this movie, Silence of the Lambs from 1991, and almost the 5 wins it had: Best Picture, Director, Actress, Actor, Adapted Screenplay. Like that's the big one.
Those are the big 5.
Yep.
Nobody's done it since Silence of the Lambs.
Right.
There's been a couple before.
No, yeah.
And we're including ones that would win for original screenplay also, right?
So screenplay in general.
Adapted, original. The one surprise I'm really hoping that the thing that tipped the scales in Jodie Foster's direction was her just continually saying Dr. Lecter 5 minutes after he had already hung up the phone at the end of the movie. Sorry, that's a shout out to our former guest Missy Subdi. I wanted to just little teasing there, but it's so funny. I I don't know why. Maybe that's old 80s phone etiquette or 90s phone etiquette, but he's not there. He's not gonna. I was like, oh, sorry, I lost you for a second.
Yeah, there was a dial tone. Like calls were ended, or they
Lecter.
weren't. Like back then.
Dr. Lecter. Dr. Lecter. Sorry, but fun movie. It made it to the championship matchup, I believe, of our 50 years of horror.
Oh, that's right.
Lost to The Shining.
Sounds
I
right.
think. Mm-hmm. Sounds right. Or it was at least in the final four. So definitely deserves to be here. Ryan, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head saying that this is another movie that's near perfect. It's again captivating. From the beginning to the end, your eyes are glued to the screen and you like can't blink because you're just white knuckling the whole way. It's so tense. And I love the way that it plays with the tropes of good guy versus bad guy with the Hannibal Lecter character, it's something.
And then the warden and the FBI director.
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
Who really is the...
Yeah. But it's completely, it's rare that you get a movie like that. And it's, I think it has a good shot at winning this whole thing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I
It
would
is a
say
very
the one
positive-
not perfect aspect of this is I don't love that they made Buffalo Bill just like kind of trans and kind of not. Like I feel like we can look at that as a little transphobic. I could probably
100%.
put it as for the time, but it's just kind of like, you just made up this character, so why are we adding that aspect in? I kind of wish that, because especially for a lot of us, like that's one of our first introductions to men wearing women's clothes sometimes, and trans people don't wear people's skin and stuff
that makes me I don't know. I've never read any of the novelizations.
Yeah, I don't know if it was in the
this
novel.
Is an adapted.
Yeah.
That's
a good question.
Again, I don't.
I'm not sure if it was in the book or not. Like he's not a real person though. Like we're not talking like they took different stuff from different serial killers. I just wish that part wasn't in there because it doesn't seem like it's necessary. Because he's still terrifying without that aspect, and we can still so that's my one. Like I just wish it was a little bit different. It's not enough for me to not like this movie and respect like all the other stuff, and it is like just it's from start to finish like fun to watch and exciting, and the back and forth between Clarice and Hannibal Lecter is so cool, and Clarice is such an awesome like female character in here. I love that. And this movie, probably more than I think maybe any other ones, is still just like such a part of our pop culture and gets referenced so much. Like it puts the lotion in the basket, fava beans and a nice Chianti. Hello, Clarice. Like still said so much more than any of the other ones on this list.
Right up there with the plastic bag.
Yep, right up there with the plastic bag.
That I'm really glad you brought that up, Jenny. That's a great point.
Yeah, it's definitely
still a great movie.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
and again,
It's
like
awesome,
like we said, it got the 5 major categories.
Yeah.
And Ryan, like you said, it hasn't been done since. So we'll see what happens here. It could easily go far.
Yes, for sure.
2 more to get to. So we have the Lord of the Rings. Return of the King, and I think Ryan, you've made a good point before. This was kind of a collective win. I think if I had to pick one of the series or the 3-part series, I'd say the Two Towers was maybe the slightly better movie.
Me too.
of all 3. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about Return of the King, and it's lovely long ending.
Oh my god.
But it is. It's captivating. Again,
So first of all, I disagree with that. I don't think it's captivating. I think this is like, I mean, this movie as a trilogy is great with a capital G. You know, it's like it's awesome with a capital A. You know, it's big, you know, and it's expansive, and it created this enormous universe, and you know, it's kind of like, you know, that it's like Star Wars for that generation, sort of, you know. And it was such a huge feat, and it was done really, really well. And I agree. I think Two Towers is the best, but I also think that when you're making a trilogy that's like designed to be a trilogy, the second one is always going to be like the most entertaining generally, and like kind of because that's
Act
like the
two is
meat of
always-
the story,
Yeah.
you know.
But doesn't win because
yeah.
it still feels unfinished too.
Exactly,
Like,
and it's also like where most of the action takes place,
Yeah.
and the big twists and stuff like that. But the end to this movie just ruined it for me, I thought. I mean, that was my big takeaway from the movie, is I was sitting there for the last half hour going, when is this fucking movie gonna end?
just throw
lot of
that
us-
ring into
a lot
that
of us
goddamn
will.
volcano. I'm going to fucking lose it.
Yeah.
Well,
And it's so long.
It is long. I think so. Here's a situation where again, they had 11 wins this year,
Which I think is
that-
the
that
most of
year.
any movie in
Oh, okay.
this tournament.
So when you talk about putting all of the things together, like you've brought up, and we should really be looking at when we're talking about best movies, I think this is one of the few situations where almost the sum of all pieces is equal to the sum of all pieces, or even maybe a
Right.
little less, because it did have the best visual effects, the best editing,
Yeah.
production design, but maybe
I think it
didn't
could have
come
had a
to-
little bit
it-
better
do you-
editing, personally. Like,
Okay,
but,
okay, you know-
but yeah, no,
yeah,
I get
not
what
all
you're
of the
saying.
wins,
Like,
but it
the
just-
scope of this movie is
Yeah.
like, it's huge, and I get why it's so popular, and it's beloved by Lord of the Rings fans, which I think is the ultimate, because if it wasn't like that, then like Lord of the Rings fans would make it very clear what they did not like, and it is overall
At least-
like, people love it, and that's great, and I'm really glad that it is one that was made for the fans in that way, and keeping them in mind in that. So yeah, I don't love it. I had actually completely forgotten that it had won Best Picture. I remember seeing all of them, and I remember them being nominated and getting lots of nominations. I did not remember that it won Best Picture at all. Yeah, I am
It's
not
crazy.
a fan of these movies, but I recognize why they're amazing, and I'm glad people love them so much. I found them incredibly boring, all of them, all the time. But I know people feel that way about Harry Potter,
okay.
and I love the Harry Potter books, and so I can see what's
Yeah.
great in the movies and like fill in those extra things, and I love the Harry Potter movies too. So I get it, and I think it's great that people love that movie so much.
Unpopular opinion, I actually like the Hobbit trilogy over the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And everybody complains about the Hobbit being too long. But having never read the books, like just viewing them as films and the story they tell as films, I actually like the Hobbit a little better.
I didn't dislike the Hobbit movies. I thought they were good. But
I was so burned out from the
That's
Lord of the
still-
Rings movies, I haven't gone anywhere near the Hobbit movies.
yeah.
Nope.
And I just like, oh shit, I'm being stupid again. I can't pull his name out of my hat.
Benedict Cumberbatch?
No, yes, Smaug.
Yeah.
I just love saying Smaug.
I know.
No, Bilbo.
Oh.
He
Ian Holm.
he's Arthur Dent in
Ian Holm, right?
I-
Is
In the Hobbit, it's the guy from The Office, Jim.
Oh.
Jim from the British Office.
oh yeah, that guy.
I'm being so dumb. He's got so many fantastic.
Yeah.
roles.
Yeah.
I'm also drunk.
Martin Freeman.
You guys might have
Martin
to kick me
Freeman?
off.
Yes,
Yes.
Martin Freeman.
Kick me off this podcast.
They call him One Take Martin Freeman.
Oh,
Call
that's
back.
what we should remake Driving Miss Daisy.
Yes.
Only Martin Freeman is driving
And-
Morgan.
Freeman.
I thought you were gonna say he's driving Smaug.
Smaug.
We'll take race out of it completely.
Yep.
Yeah. Although the dragon people are going to be really,
Yeah, right.
really upset with us.
Yep.
I'm just kidding. The dragon furries? I don't know. Okay, last movie to get to, unless we have 20 more minutes to talk
Quite
about
possibly.
Return of the King. No. No. In our last Seinfeld reference, I love that they would touch into that stuff, but we watched this movie. We didn't make out in the middle of it like Jerry Seinfeld did. Schindler's List from 1993.
Mm-hmm.
The last non I'm going to kill everybody Liam Neeson movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Probably.
I know. I mean, he's done other. He didn't kill everyone in Love Actually. So.
Oh, that's right. Right. He was about to.
Yes, he was super close.
Deleted scenes.
Super close to it. I mean, maybe he killed his wife.
Winner, though.
That's true. Love Actually. Like, the whole storyline is his wife just died, so we don't know how she died.
Or maybe he just got back from avenging her death.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Then
And then he's,
there we go.
Yep, raising the kiddo. There we go.
But big wins here all around.
Yeah.
And I brought up the Seinfeld thing. So the reason that storyline was put into Seinfeld is because supposedly Steven Spielberg was getting so depressed on set making this movie that he would watch episodes of Seinfeld to bring him out of that, and Jerry and everybody found out about this. So, but very, very important movie. I think this is another early favorite.
Yeah, absolutely.
In this tournament. But yeah, Jen, what do you think here? What's going to carry it? What's going to hold it back?
No, I don't think anything will really hold it back. It's fantastic. Steven Spielberg, just more than I think any other director, can just like hold the audience in the palm of his hand from start to finish. Like, he knows exactly how to control our emotions, for better or for worse. Like, we're just in, and he never goes like too far. Like, his stuff never gets like too schlocky and like trying to make you cry, like too manipulative. But he just like, you were feeling how he wants you to feel through this whole movie and through every movie that he does. And it's a perfect movie. And I'm not a huge Liam Neeson fan in general. I think he tends to like suck all the energy out of the room in movies, but he's like, especially in dramatic roles.
Not here.
That's why I like him in action movie, because it's like you don't need to have a personality there. You do just fine. But he has an amazing performance in this, and it's great. And shooting in black and white is obviously a like perfect decision, and I feel like everyone has different scenes from that movie that you really like remember and that stick with you, and I think it's all because this movie is filled with so many powerful moments
very well done. I'm glad you mentioned the black and white. Very well done artistic movie. In addition to being compelling, having a good storyline, good acting. Ryan, I know you rewatched very recently. What'd you love?
Yeah, I watched this. It's everything. I mean, it's hard to. I don't throw around the M word very much, but I mean, this movie, I think it's fair to say, is a masterpiece. And like, there's like you say, Jenny, you could take any like moment and break it up and like teach a class on it. You know what I mean? Because there was so much attention to detail in this, in every shot. And there's so much horror in so much of it, and so much beauty in moments of it. And there's just, I could literally do a podcast on just this movie. Like, there's so much I could say. I was a total mess for the last 15-20 minutes. And I, when it changed to color at the end, spoiler alert, when it changed to color at the end and all the survivors came to put stones on his grave, I leaned over to Becky and I said, I want to hate this so bad. And I could barely get the words out of my mouth because I was bawling so hard. I'm like, I don't like this. Like, this isn't supposed to work. But it somehow, like, works perfectly. And it's, you know, there's just so many. I mean, the one thing I didn't love about it, I'd say, is the score. It's kind of
interesting.
And it won best score. It's John Williams. But it, you know, the cinematography is absolutely brilliant. And it's, you know, so captivating, to use that word once again. So I was shocked rewatching it, how entertaining it is. All the acting is incredible. Ray Fiennes, Ben Kingsley. It's Liam Neeson is great. It's just an amazing achievement, an amazing movie. And
it's like the best of its type. Like, I haven't
100%.
seen another movie that's
and it,
like
you know, I think that the choice to make it black and white is so necessary. It's not like when you watch it, it's not just like he said, oh, but let's make it like an old movie, so let's put it in black and white. Like, you can tell he's very purposeful in his choices, and it looks very much like classic kind of film noir in a lot of the scenes. And you know, it's and his use of, you know, putting little spots of color you know, throughout is something that I don't think had ever really been done before. So yeah, I mean, it's brilliant. And like I said, I could talk about little moments in this movie forever. There's the massacre scene is just absolutely brutal. And there's a moment in that sequence when there's a diegetic music moment where you don't know it's diegetic at first. That there's one of the Nazis finds a piano and he starts playing Mozart, and you just hear the music, and it's like this really fast kind of upbeat piano playing, and it totally like doesn't jive with what's happening. You know, it's very jarring, and it just like that was maybe my favorite moment in the movie, as far as just like being spellbound at what was happening from like a filmmaking perspective, you know.
And for those Pop-Tarts that don't know, diegetic music is when the characters in the movie hear it too. So it's not like just the score and background music. Like, that's when the characters are also hearing the same song that you are hearing.
It's like when someone's listening to music in their car radio, as opposed to like Jenny said, like score or something.
Yeah, no, very again, very purposeful film, and I like how both of you brought up their again, what we see out of so many of these best pictures, or what we want to see out of the things that win best pictures. There are intentional artistic choices and things that are done intentionally to you know, evoke that emotion. That's what good art should get from us, whether it's any kind of emotion, be it, you know, comedy, sadness, happiness, anger, whatever. That's what good art is supposed to be. And I just I loved that we actually ended on this. This is our last movie to talk about today. I did really quick. You know, there's been a lot going on just in the world, and we talked about stuff locally last week, but such a good movie to end on here, because I think it's really, really important to remember that we're we're all human and we're all in this together, and we all have value, and we need to appreciate each other and remember, again, like that we are all human and love each other. I love this group. Sorry to kind of do a big tie in here, but that's the thing. This group brings us all together to discuss fun things, and so this is a great place to just bring it all back. I love you guys for doing this podcast with me. I love all the Pop-Tarts out there for participating in this.
Yep.
So let's just try to bring a little bit more positivity and a little bit more positive energy to everything that we do. It's a good way to go about, and then we can come and joke around on the podcast and laugh and discuss things and enjoy more beautiful art. So, is there anything we missed on these movies? I will say quick. I've noticed, I only have today's list in front of me. I can't think of anything that, I'm sure there is one, but all of these movies that won Best Picture, they also won Best Director. So...
yeah, that's switched the last couple years. We've all of a sudden had a different Best Director and Best Picture winner. It's been like, I'd say of the last 10 years, probably more often than not, but I have to look closely. But that director and picture are split.
But one of those things that was much more common back in the day.
It was super common until recently it was like hardly ever.
Exactly. Yeah. Historically, that was like in lockstep, and it's, within the last 10 years or so has kind of gotten a little more like common to not happen.
I think in these last four that we talked about, it was definitely deserved, because we had some more, especially with Parasite and Schindler's List, definitely deserved. So, but yeah, I don't think. Oh, you know what? I was gonna say. I remembered what I was gonna say about The English Patient. It's the prequel to Out of Africa.
That's so funny you said that, because I told Jenny when you were when you walked away that you had told me it was the prequel to Voldemort.
that too. Well, that's why he looks like that.
Yeah, it is. That's where his nose went.
Or is Out of Africa the prequel? I don't know. One of the two. No, I had it backwards, because Out of Africa is World War I, The English Patient's World War II. I had it backwards. And then it leads into Harry Potter, your favorite.
And then it leads into Harry Potter. Yep.
So Robert Redford turns into
to
one
Ray
of the Fiennes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. All right, we got through that okay.
Yep.
A little longer, but next week we only have 10 movies to talk about, so we'll cut it by about 3 minutes.
Yep, baby. We'll have our Oscar wrap-up, though, to talk about, so buckle up.
Oh, boy. Buckle up, buckaroos. All right, any last messages for everybody out there?
Black Lives
I
Matter.
think we're good.
Yeah,
Yes, they
Black
do.
Lives Matter.
And not taking away from that, but a strong journalistic presence is so extremely important. As soon as you see your government attacking your journalists, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And that's in what you guys said, that's exactly what they're trying to cover. So please take a strong look at your opinions if you disagree with that. And we can always discuss things. But for everybody out there, please take care of each other, love each other, keep on voting, and keep on popping.
Pop, pop.
Bye, friends.
Love you guys.